It was a night 2 weeks ago when my husband, Ethan, rolled over in his sleep, his hand landing softly on my lower abdomen. That unconscious gesture jolted me awake. It was my regular girls' night out with my best friend, Bella. I'd had quite a bit to drink, but Bella, claiming she was on antibiotics, had abstained completely. It put a slight damper on my usual revelry. We were emerging from a dimly lit whiskey bar, the Ember Lounge, already plotting our next move, when a familiar silver Porsche Panamera pulled up a short distance away. The parking lot was a sea of luxury cars, making the Panamera almost seem humble in comparison, but its custom all-silver paint job and matte wrap made it stand out. "Hey, isn't that the car you gave Ethan? Is he picking you up?" Bella's voice was a little too loud. I quickly pulled her back, trying to stay out of sight. The driver's side door opened, revealing not Ethan, but a young valet from the club across the street. The Panamera was a birthday gift I'd given Ethan the year before. It wasn't brand new. It was simply a car I'd grown tired of. At the time, Ethan was still a somewhat principled, struggling college student. He'd been shocked and overwhelmed by such a lavish gift, refusing it outright, leaving me feeling rather awkward and rejected. Now, watching him emerge from the club, sporting a trendy haircut and designer clothes, I felt a surge of bitter irony and simmering rage. My anger hadn't even begun to subside when a glamorous, Instagram model-type girl followed him out, playfully running to take his hand. They got into the Panamera, him in the driver's seat, her in the passenger's, and sped away. "Wow, that's intense," Bella said with a cold laugh. "He lives off you, wears your clothes, spends your money, started a production company with your investment, and this is how he repays you? Are you just going to let him get away with it?" "Of course I'm going to watch," I said, my voice icy. "It's quite a spectacle, isn't it?" I wasn't just going to watch how he transformed from a dog into a man, I was going to watch how he turned back into a dog. To put it simply, Ethan was my junior in college, 3 years younger than me. During our 3rd year, a close male friend from my class, someone I considered a brother, brought Ethan to our reunion gathering. He mentioned that Ethan had been helping out on his film set, praising him as a diligent, bright, and eager learner. "Molly," my friend had whispered to me, a mischievous glint in his eye, "I think he's exactly your type. I brought him here specifically for you." He didn't need to tell me. The moment Ethan walked into the room with my friend, I was captivated. He had thick eyebrows, large, expressive eyes, a strong nose, and skin with a healthy, dark tan. His haircut was simple and neat, and he looked to be around 6 feet 2 inches. His features, though defined, still held a youthful, almost boyish quality. From a purely physical standpoint, he met all my criteria. It was a shame about the designer clothes, though. They were clearly fake, but somehow on him, they almost looked genuine. I observed him from a distance, my gaze locked on him. He noticed my attention, and perhaps because it was so blatant, Ethan immediately became self-conscious, awkwardly fidgeting with his hands. Throughout the dinner, I only engaged Ethan in casual conversation. He, on the other hand, seemed exceptionally nervous whenever I asked him a question or responded to him. It was, frankly, adorable. Now, looking back, every memory felt like a slap in the face. The intensity of my past love for him was now matched only by the intensity of my hatred. I had meticulously crafted my spouse, only to have him betray me in such a crude and undisguised manner just 3 months after our wedding. It naturally ignited a destructive urge within me. All the sunk costs transformed into fuel for my hatred, a heavy weight pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. "Molly, what are you going to do?" Bella asked cautiously on the drive home. "Divorce him outright? Or give him another chance? You've been together for almost 4 years. Give him a chance?" "Of course I will. Maybe he's just looking for a bit of excitement. I'm not about to let all my years of effort go down the drain." Not only was I not letting it go to waste, but I was going to make him pay back every penny with interest. Bella, hearing this, said no more, only glancing at me from the corner of her eye. Bella and I had been friends for over a decade. She was the only close female friend I had from a lower socioeconomic background. Beautiful, but with a bold, outspoken, and fiercely loyal personality, she always looked out for me, offering advice and defending me fiercely. When Ethan and I got married, she had strongly opposed it, constantly saying that he was only interested in my money, not me, and that I would get hurt. Now, it seemed her words had come true. I sighed, feeling a profound sense of disillusionment. But I reasoned with myself, maybe Ethan was just looking for a temporary thrill. This kind of behavior was commonplace in the circles slightly above the middle class. I'd been naive enough to believe that Ethan could resist. When I arrived home, it was close to midnight. The luxurious villa, a wedding gift from my parents, had the entryway lights on. In the garage, the Panamera was already parked. I asked the housekeeper to make you some soup to help you sober up. As soon as I entered, Ethan was standing in the hallway leading to the dining room, holding a steaming bowl. She didn't drink a drop. And you? You went and got yourself completely drunk. Honestly, you're a grown woman. You should know how to take care of yourself. I stood there, motionless. How did you know I went drinking with Bella? Did the driver tell you? Ethan's expression remained unchanged. I saw you two when I was leaving the bar. What? I was startled. I saw you two leaving the bar. You didn't even tell me where you were going. If I were a jealous husband. You. Ethan put down the soup and gently embraced me, guiding me into the dining room. I know what you're thinking. That girl was a small-time actress that investor insisted on introducing to me. You know how it is in my line of work, those actresses are willing to do anything for a chance to get on screen. Could I have really misjudged him? Molly, how could I ever be unfaithful to you? You've given me everything. I would never take that for granted. Ethan, seeing my silence, knelt down, his face a picture of puppy dog sadness. Seeing him like this, I couldn't help but sigh. All right, I understand. Since you've made the first move, I have nothing more to say. It wasn't a move against you, I really didn't. I believe you, I interrupted him. It's time for bed. But the seed of doubt, once planted, could only take root and grow. Lying beside Ethan that night, I couldn't fall asleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the image of him leaving the club. It was ridiculous, really. At my age, I was long past believing in fairy tale romances, but the image still made my heart ache. At 3 in the morning, he was fast asleep. I got up and checked his phone. His call logs, WeChat messages, texts, Alipay records, and travel apps were all spotless, with no suspicious transactions. I rarely checked his phone. After all, Ethan was a smart man. Even if he was cheating, he wouldn't leave any obvious clues. So, had I really misjudged him this time? I put down the phone and turned to face Ethan's sleeping form. Just as I was drifting off, Ethan rolled over, his hand landing on my lower abdomen. It was a subconscious gesture, a habitual one, executed with such gentle pressure that it instantly snapped me awake. He was going to be a father, and the mother of his child was not me. The next day, Ethan woke up early and went to the office for a morning meeting. He even gave me a good morning kiss before he left. I acted as if nothing was wrong, accepting his performance of deep affection. At the breakfast table, I held my coffee cup for a long time, unable to take even a sip. The initial wave of sadness had passed, replaced by a profound sense of injustice and anger. And the calm that followed forced me to face reality. I had spent 4 years shaping Ethan, transforming him from a naive, almost rebellious college student into a seemingly wealthy and confident faux aristocrat. It was all to find a suitable son-in-law for my father and to secure my own future. Giving him a production company was meant to ensure he wouldn't be looked down upon as someone living off his wife. I had thought of everything for him. And yet, just a few months after our wedding, he couldn't resist the urge to cheat. The feeling of being deceived and humiliated was utterly nauseating. Disgusting? Absolutely. This wasn't a simple divorce that could erase the disgust. I was going to destroy Ethan. I was going to send him back to where he came from, and then I was going to drag him even lower. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Within seconds, before I could even fully process it, the call was answered. Whit, I need you to find Olivia's contact information for me. Don't ask questions, I need her to do me a small favor. Olivia had once tried to seduce my ex-boyfriend, and she had almost succeeded. But our relationship was already on shaky ground at that point. I broke up with him before she could fully succeed. In other words, I had almost been cheated on. But the difference between almost being cheated on and being directly betrayed was a difference of entirely different magnitudes. Olivia and my ex-boyfriend had lasted 3 years before they split, and she was dumped unceremoniously and without pretense. Dating was one thing, but marriage? She was far from being the top choice for a wealthy family. When faced with the machinations of the truly powerful, neither the honey trap nor the pregnancy threat worked. Olivia had gone quiet for 2 years, but she had recently resurfaced in social circles. When I saw her stunning selfies a few months ago, I never imagined I would be contacting her so soon. She suggested we meet at Sushi Tong in the workers' stadium area. She chose the place. After all these years, her understanding of my spending standards had only increased. But at this moment, I didn't resent her materialism. In fact, I felt a cold sense of satisfaction. The world worked like this. Some people provided money, others provided services. Some people offered genuine affection, but there was no guarantee of reciprocation. Olivia took off her oversized sunglasses, which covered almost half her face, revealing a face that had been meticulously sculpted, to the point of being almost too perfect. It was a face that would make most women envious and most men drool. "I know you're short on cash right now," I said, skipping the pleasantries and getting straight to the point. "Maintaining your appearance and your lavish lifestyle requires money." "Yes, I am short on cash. Unlike you, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I have to work hard for everything I have, by any means necessary," Olivia said, her words direct and to the point, just the way I liked it. "Good. I want you to seduce my husband." Olivia was visibly surprised, staring at me for a long moment without saying a word. I waited calmly for her response. Finally, she said, "Aren't you afraid I'll actually succeed?" I smiled, genuinely amused. "Of course, you have to succeed, and the sooner the better. But you have to listen to me. As for what happens after you succeed, I don't care. You'll get what you deserve." Olivia chuckled. "You know, I'm the best at this." We talked for a long time that day. I painted Ethan as a terrifying man with a tendency towards domestic violence and extreme control. I told Olivia that seducing him was simply a way to gather evidence so that, in the divorce, Ethan would be left with nothing and the company would be returned to me in its entirety. The task was simple and clear, with no need for further explanation. But that wasn't my true objective. Weeks passed, and I remained patient. Ethan's production company's first project was in the works. He was spinning like a top, constantly busy. I rarely saw him at home. He also frequently found excuses to drive the Bentley. It seemed the old Panamera wasn't quite up to the task of attracting a higher caliber of gold digger. One day, Ethan came home unusually early and started showering me with attention and affection. Finally, in the bedroom, as we lay naked, and Ethan gently moved on top of me, I pushed him away. "I've been having my period lately." "Darling, I was thinking of buying a new car," Ethan said, wrapping his arms around me. His handsome features were bathed in the soft glow of the bedside lamp, making it difficult to read his expression. "I have a company now. I need a car that reflects my career." My career. I couldn't help but repeat the words, almost laughing out loud. I quickly composed myself. "All right, what car are you thinking of?" "At least a Maybach, or—" I didn't hear a single word of Ethan's subsequent rambling. All I knew was that the time for him to turn over a new leaf had arrived. The next day, Ethan and I went to a luxury car dealership. I sat in the waiting area, watching Ethan's excitement with a cold detachment as a stunningly beautiful woman, who instantly captured the attention of everyone in the room, walked in. It was Olivia. She removed her sunglasses, seemingly by chance, glancing at Ethan. Ethan's voice became unnaturally loud. "What discount did you say I get for paying in full?" His tone was, to my ears, even more ridiculous. Olivia circled the car Ethan had been looking at, asking a few questions that were both sophisticated and informed. Informed because, of course, I had prepared her in advance. Then, she smiled at Ethan. "It seems we have similar tastes." That smile and her voice, even to a woman like me, were incredibly alluring. Ethan glanced at me furtively. I stood up leisurely and headed to the restroom, leaving the stage to Olivia. 10 minutes later, when I returned, Olivia was gone. Ethan was talking to the salesperson, seemingly calm and collected. Everything appeared normal, except for a WeChat message on my phone. It was a screenshot from Olivia, showing Ethan's friend request and his introductory message. The message attached to the friend request almost made me laugh out loud. "Want to go for a ride in my new car?" Looking at the screenshot, a cold smile spread across my lips, but my heart ached. The kept man I had loved was such an easy target and so heartless. It was my fault for being so blind, for investing so much in him. Since the cost was sunk and irretrievable, I was going to make Ethan pay back the interest accumulated over these years, with compound interest. "Your husband's new car is quite extravagant," Bella said when we met, her voice filled with disapproval. I knew she felt sorry for me, blaming me for continuing to spend money on Ethan. Little did she know I had told Ethan that my liquid assets were currently limited, convincing him to pay the down payment himself and to take out a loan in the company's name. I had made a false promise to pay off the full amount once my investments matured. Ethan, eager to take Olivia for a spin, had readily agreed to my proposal. "Where's Ethan?" "Not around again." I lit a cigarette, a slim, feminine one, and offered it to Bella. Bella frowned, turning her head away, still clearly upset. I sighed, taking a drag myself. "It's all right, I chose him. I need to give him more time." "Being married is different. It even changes your temper and personality," Bella said, looking at me with pity, before snatching the cigarette from my hand and stubbing it out in the ashtray. During the month-long wait for the car to be delivered, Ethan was anything but idle, using various excuses to meet up with Olivia. Olivia, a true master of the art of seduction, played the game of hard-to-get and subtle suggestion with masterful grace and charm. She had Ethan completely mesmerized, to the point where he almost slipped up in front of me several times. Every detail of his dates with Olivia, including the sickeningly sweet things he said to her in private, was relayed to me without fail. "Your husband must be going crazy being controlled by you," Olivia said during one of our meetings, even starting to mock him. "When he's with me, he doesn't act like a married man at all, more like a novice in the game of love." I was taken aback. Olivia's words felt like another slap in the face, this time directed at my years of effort. But, Olivia added after a moment's thought, in the past month, he never asked me out on Tuesdays or Saturdays. Tuesdays and Saturdays? Tuesday evenings were my fixed yoga days, and Saturday afternoons Ethan and I would visit my parents and stay overnight. Logically, Tuesday should have been Ethan's freest day, so why? The image of Ethan's hand, gently resting on my lower abdomen, flashed through my mind. Even in his sleep, he could find the exact spot, his touch so gentle. Olivia, seeing my somber expression, gave me a knowing smile. A while later, following my instructions, Olivia pestered Ethan to take her to a newly opened water park in the city on a Tuesday. Despite Olivia's fair skin and alluring bikini-clad body, Ethan seemed distracted. As it approached 3 o'clock, Ethan made an excuse about having business at the company and urged Olivia to leave with him. I arrived at the location Olivia had sent me just as Ethan was dropping her off. I instructed the taxi driver to follow Ethan's luxury car. We ended up at a well-known private maternity hospital in the city. Through the car window, I watched as Ethan, fully disguised, accompanied a familiar figure into the hospital. I sat in the car, my body trembling, my vision blurring. The woman turned her head for a moment, and I recognized her. It was my longtime best friend, Bella. This betrayal was far more intense than I had anticipated, and it took me a while to recover. All this time, I had been kept in the dark by the people closest to me. My usually alcohol-loving friend, abstaining that day, Ethan, turning the tables on me at home, and the extinguished cigarette. It all clicked into place, like a series of hidden catches, perfectly aligned. The taxi driver looked at me with concern. Just before he could offer any words of comfort, I regained my composure. Perhaps it was the sheer volume of information I had received over the past month, the cumulative shock, that caused my brain to short-circuit before it could explode. All the curses, the rage, the murderous hatred suddenly vanished, leaving only one thought. I was going to make them suffer. When I called Olivia to my home, she was surprised. But as she walked through the small garden in front of the villa, seeing the light in her eyes, I knew I still had a chance. "Do you like this kind of house?" I poured her some exquisite tea. "Seriously, Molly? Did you call me here just to show off your good fortune?" The more Olivia said this, the happier I became. Besides, Ethan often shows me pictures of the house, as if he bought it himself. "I just want to tell you that anything you see in this house, you can take it. But you have to make Ethan pay the equivalent price. That is, I want you to sign with his company as an actress and be seen with him publicly, in a high-profile way, to fuel the rumors." Olivia, as if on cue, picked up a decorative piece from the living room and examined it. "We have a deal. You give me money and a future, and I'll naturally give you something that matches the price." Smart as she was, Olivia never made a losing deal. "My only non-negotiable requirement is that you practice safe sex." Olivia's eyes darkened at this. "I will never let a child defile my body again," Olivia said through gritted teeth. Her previous experience of trying to force a marriage with a pregnancy had clearly left deeper scars than I had imagined. Besides, I've had 3 abortions. It's very difficult for me to get pregnant now. My eyes widened. All the remaining questions had been answered. A few days later, Ethan signed a contract with Olivia, making her an actress in his company. He created a series of precisely targeted plans. For her, rented a lavishly decorated apartment close to the company, and immediately cast her as the 3rd female lead in his first project. The decision to replace the original actress was made unilaterally by Ethan. At the investor meeting, he held up a stack of A4 papers filled with plans, passionately announcing the change. Everyone was stunned by his actions, but Ethan, blinded by love, didn't listen to a word anyone said, even when faced with threats of withdrawal from some investors. "I will use my own funds to cover the additional expenses. Believe me, she will bring enormous benefits to our company." One was giving impassioned speeches, the other was posing in front of a mirror in her luxurious apartment. A match made in heaven. Although it was a fledgling film production company, Ethan had cultivated some social media presence. Olivia's stunning beauty and exaggerated marketing efforts quickly yielded results, with her followers on various platforms growing visibly. Some smaller media outlets, not to be outdone, started digging into the sugar daddy behind Olivia. Ethan was still a bit green, despite trying to avoid the public eye. But he couldn't resist Olivia's reports to me, nor could he resist my feeding various pieces of information to gossip reporters. As a result, Ethan and Olivia spent even more time together than I had anticipated. He even frequently neglected to accompany Bella to her prenatal appointments on Tuesdays. A few days later, my long-lost friend Bella finally came to visit me for afternoon tea. I greeted her warmly, but she seemed preoccupied, with worry written all over her face. She wore a loose-fitting dress that day, her pregnancy clearly visible, and she looked exhausted. I sneered inwardly, but my expression remained unchanged. She kept mentioning the actress Ethan had signed, Olivia, and warning me to be careful of her. "If I had to be wary of every young actress, I'd be exhausted," I said casually, interrupting her incessant chatter. Bella was surprised by my nonchalance. "You weren't this calm when you saw him leaving the bar." I shook my head. "We cleared up the misunderstanding. But what about you? You look so tired lately, and you seem a bit swollen. You need to exercise more. How about we play some badminton in the garden?" Bella was taken aback, forcing a weak smile, her hand instinctively moving to her lower abdomen before quickly moving away. "It's too hot. It's more comfortable to just enjoy the cool breeze." I didn't respond. Although I desperately wanted to throw the scalding hot tea in her face, I restrained myself. I would make them pay a price far greater than mere physical pain, just as I was experiencing the bone-chilling agony now. A week later, the film project, Ethan's first as a producer, was about to hold a press conference before filming began. The day before the press conference, I met Olivia at our usual spot. I handed her the things I had prepared, along with a bank card, and showed her the transfer record on my phone. It was an amount that would make anyone's heart race, neatly displayed in the message. Olivia smiled broadly. She opened the bag, looked inside, and then closed it as if she hadn't seen anything. "I want more." "All right," I smiled. "I'll double the amount on this transfer." Olivia was surprised by my generosity. Is he really worth that much? Thinking about what was about to happen, I couldn't help but smile. Of course, he is. Compared to the loss of my feelings and my money, this price is nothing. Olivia looked at me thoughtfully for a long time, without saying a word. "Don't worry, we're in this together now. I'm not stupid enough to let you get into trouble and drag me down with you." A few seconds later, Olivia smiled faintly, took the bag and the bank card, and left the restaurant. I stared blankly for a few minutes, then picked up my phone and called Bella. "Darling, will you come with me to Ethan's press conference tomorrow? We're going to catch him in the act." The next day's press conference was far more grand than I had expected. Many prominent media outlets were present. Ethan had been planning this press conference for a long time. If he succeeded, he would become a man with an independent career, so he couldn't afford not to create a buzz. When I met Bella in the backstage lounge, her pregnancy was completely unconcealable, and she looked furious. "Molly, your husband is definitely having an affair with that little bitch. I'm going to tear them apart today." She was clearly even angrier than I had anticipated. "Good." I feigned outrage. Yes, we have to make them pay right here, right now. You stay here and watch them. I'll go and talk to some people in the front. In the security room, there was only one elderly guard. I showed him my work badge, politely gave him a carton of cigarettes, and he happily went outside to smoke. Taking advantage of the opportunity, I plugged in a hard drive to copy the surveillance footage. There was nothing particularly special about it. I just wanted to record the memorable moment. In the front, a staff member placed several bottles of mineral water in front of the main cast members participating in the press conference. Olivia smiled and nodded in acknowledgement, then naturally moved the bottle of water in her hand to Ethan's place. Ethan, immersed in his own world, completely failed to notice Olivia's action. Facing the cameras of numerous media outlets at the project launch, Ethan remained composed, his speech calm and collected, as if he actually knew what he was doing. But the better he performed, the more it highlighted my utter defeat. During a break in the questions from the reporters, Ethan finally picked up the bottle of water and took a few large gulps, then put it back in its place. Meanwhile, in the backstage lounge, Bella was pacing back and forth, furious and gnashing her teeth, muttering to herself, seemingly cursing the air. Looking at these two screens, composing this absurd scene, thinking about what was about to happen, my scalp tingled with a mixture of excitement and anticipation. 10 minutes later, Ethan suddenly became restless, fidgeting in his chair. Another 5 minutes passed, and he loosened his tie, grabbing the water bottle and drinking it down in one gulp. But things were only going to get worse. He would only get thirstier, and the thirst would only fuel his desire. After a while, Ethan staggered to his feet and headed backstage. The others were still politely answering questions from the reporters. The investors, seeing Ethan's strange behavior, were bewildered, but they didn't dare call him back. Ethan entered the backstage lounge. The furious Bella rushed towards him. They exchanged a few words, and then Ethan began to advance on Bella, pushing her towards the makeup table with one hand. Bella struggled, but she was no match for a man in the throes of induced arousal. As I watched Ethan, like a wild dog, pounce on Bella and begin to move, and as my best friend initially covered her mouth to stifle her screams, I felt a momentary pang of pity. But then, remembering their cruelty towards me, compassion seemed like the most useless thing in the world. As the drug took full effect, Ethan completely transformed into a beast. The security guard returned to the control room and was stunned by the scene unfolding before him. He froze for at least 10 seconds, his first instinct being to take out his phone and record the video. What are they? Should I call the police? On the screen, Bella's expression was one of intense pain. A dark liquid flowed down her legs, and she slid down the makeup table like a dead fish. After a few seconds, she could no longer bear it, and tears burst forth along with her cries. Her screams, like a thunderclap, exploded in the other scene, in front of the reporters. Everyone looked at each other, searching for the source of the sound. Olivia's first reaction was to look at the security camera. Her mocking gaze pierced through the camera, directly into my heart, a brief vacuum enveloping me. I turned off the screen, unplugged the USB drive, turned, and left the control room, heading towards the scene that was about to transform into a living hell. When I arrived backstage, Olivia was nowhere to be seen. I knew she had already taken the passport and plane ticket I had prepared for her and was on her way to the airport, ready to leave the country. Everyone else was in complete chaos. Noise, shouts, cries, flashing lights, and the clicking of camera shutters mingled with Ethan's desperate pleas, like the barking of a dog. All of this coalesced into a flood of exhilarating pleasure that washed over me. I pushed through the crowd, towards Ethan, who was kneeling on the ground, naked from the waist down, and towards the pool of blood, a sight that was truly horrifying. Bella was lying in the pool of blood, her face pale, unconscious. Some people were around her, trying to give her first aid, others were calling for an ambulance, some were covering their eyes in fear, but many more were capturing the moment, taking photos, faithfully recording the scene. Ethan looked utterly grotesque, his body covered in the foul-smelling blood from the pregnant woman's miscarriage, trembling like a drug addict in withdrawal, still muttering to himself, clearly suffering from immense shock. He suddenly looked up, saw me standing before him, as if he had just recovered from a bolt of lightning. His facial expression changed 1,000 times, and then he let out a scream and lunged at me. I thought he was going to attack me, and I instinctively stepped back, but he grabbed me in a hug. "Molly, save me, please save me." The once spirited, handsome, and dashing man, in front of everyone, had completely degenerated into street trash. I stroked his head, like a devoted wife, and leaned close to his ear, my voice incredibly gentle. "Ethan, why don't you just die?" The next day, Ethan's scandal made the headlines, not just in the entertainment section, but also on the front page of the social news. Tabloids and social media accounts painted a vivid and embellished picture of how Ethan had deceived a wealthy young woman, how he had cheated on her, and how he had brutally raped a pregnant woman. The level of detail in some of the stories was so impressive that even I, a participant in the events, was amazed. The police investigated the incident for a long time. They detected a certain amount of illegal drug substances in Ethan's system, but following the trail, they could only determine that Olivia had placed the water bottle in front of him. But Olivia was already on an unknown island in Europe, enjoying her vacation, fishing for her next catch. The trail went cold, but Ethan was branded with a crime he could never wash away. When I saw Ethan again, it was through the window of a detention center. I slid the divorce papers under the glass to him. Ethan, with a stubble beard and looking 10 years older, lowered his head, his gaze vacant, neither looking at me nor the papers. "Molly, I'm sorry." "I still don't understand," I said, looking at him. "How can a person be as stupid as you?" After saying this, I took the papers, put on my sunglasses, and left the prison. Next, I took a basket of fruit and supplements to visit my good friend, who had just had a miscarriage caused by her lover. I found her lying in a hospital bed, her face devoid of color, staring blankly out the window, her expression as vacant as Ethan's. The moment I stepped into the room, she seemed to come alive, her gaze filled with hatred. Hatred? But did I not also hate them? "You must be wondering why I did this." I was curious before, I said, placing the supplements neatly on her bedside table, and then answering gently. "But now it doesn't matter. Your lives are no longer my concern. Why should I be curious about the affairs of strangers?" Right, a natural-born rich girl, getting everything she wants so easily, would never pay attention to us lower-class people who have to fight to survive. "I love Ethan, you don't deserve him. He's an independent person, and you bought him with money." Her tears flowed, but to me, they were just dirty dust. "You'll get what's coming to you. If not this time, then next time. You can fall in love with a man who can be bought with money, and yet you still fantasize about true love?" I almost burst out laughing. I stood up and placed my hand on her lower abdomen. "You just had a miscarriage. Don't get upset. You need to rest and recover." Bella almost jumped out of bed. I grabbed her. My weakened friend had no strength to struggle against me and could only listen. As I told her, word by word, "Otherwise, how will you have the strength to have another child for Ethan in the detention center?" Bella started to scream and tried to bite me. Nurses and doctors rushed in, hearing the commotion, and separated us. I walked out of the room, my phone vibrating with a WeChat notification. Olivia had sent me a beautiful landscape photo. It looked very scenic.